Dear students, I greet you all. I am Alex Cassis, an instructor of OPR 121, which is an introduction to critical thinking and argumentation. Now today we are going to deal with the knowledge area 3, which is concerning logic. As you remember, previously we have dealt with the knowledge area 1 and the knowledge area 2. So those are related. And today we are going to see some important topic about logic, which is actually very important, and I would like everyone to know it, because without logic then critical thinking and argumentation will not be meaningful to you. So on this topic, which is about logic, we started to see the meaning of logic. This is the question which everyone should ask: what is logic? Here we see that logic is reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. Remember the word strict principles. Strict means that there is no way you can avoid that. This means you should opt for it. You cannot escape that. So principles are very important when we talk about logic. So this is reasoning. You can simply say logic is reasoning. So when you start reasoning, you are on the process of making logic. The word logic came from the Greek word logos, which means sentence, discourse, reason, or rule and direction. So logic, from the Greek background, it means it is very important, because it contains all those ideas: discourse, reason, rule, and the others. So, in simple words, logic can be briefly defined as the principles which guide reasoning. So if you want to have a very simple way to understand the meaning of logic, you can simply say this is the principle which guides reasoning. What does it mean? It means that without principles, without reasoning, then there is no logic. And when you are on the process of reasoning, you must have some principles, because you not just reason. You should have principles to make you reason. And when you are in the process of reasoning, and then you employ some principles, at the same time you are on the process of logic. Even now when we are talking, you must have some ideas of reasoning. You are trying to reason, and then you are trying to create some principles, and then doing so, you are just making logic. So I advise you that you should always be in the process of reasoning. You should use principles to reason, and thus you will be employing logic in your life. You can create your own definition, which is simple. You can create your own ideas which can help you to remember the meaning of logic. Logic is a discipline that prepares the mind for the study and the practice of philosophy. So logic sometimes is just one of the branches of philosophy. It is one of the important branches of philosophy. It is a single word, but which can be studied for years and years. Books and books have been written related to this single word, logic. It can be defined as the art of sound discourse. By the term discourse, we mean serious treatment of the subject in speech or writing. So you can find that in our daily life, we cannot avoid logic. In order to survive, in order to live seriously, then we should always think about logic. Man's intellectual life, being in constant development, proceeds from knowledge already known to knowledge that follows from it, from known to unknown. This rational procedure or discourse is regulated by logic. Accordingly, logic can be described as an instrument proper to man in so far as he has reason or is rational. So when you understand logic, actually you can enjoy life, because you will always be reasoning, you will always be using principles. Logic also shows how, and in accordance with what rules reasoning attains truth and acquires sound knowledge. So you see, from logic we have reasons, from logic we have truth, from logic we have knowledge. So these are together, and they create a rational being. And the human being is a rational being. Logic makes explicit the rules of reasoning. The terms frequently used in logic are inference, which is the process of deducing or extracting a statement, conclusion, from the previous statement. You are trying to deduce, you are trying to extract a statement. And then there is an argument, the verbal expression of inference. We have already seen what is the argument in the previous knowledge areas. Then we have, in logic, we have this important terminology which is called syllogism. The format of arguments with three statements where you can have premises and the conclusion. You can have the major premise, the minor premise, and the conclusion. The conclusion, this is the statement being supported. And we have validity. And the argument is valid if the premises provide conclusive grounds for the conclusion. Otherwise the argument is invalid. Validity follows the different rules of inference. Validity pertains to arguments or reasoning, and then truth pertains to propositions. So logic has for its first principle the independence of truth and the validity. So these are very important if you want to make the principles of logic to be valid. We have independence of truth from validity. For example, if we say all men are animals, then all creatures are men, therefore all creatures are animals. Although the first two statements are false, the argument is still valid. Why? Because once you say all men are animals, and then you say all creatures are men, because we have already said all men are animals, and then when you say all creatures are men, although it is false, it is not true, but then you cannot contradict yourself saying that this is impossible. All creatures are not animals. No. Once we have already stated that all men are animals, and you provide another premise, you say all creatures are men, obviously these two are going to mislead you to have a conclusion which is not true, but it is a valid argument. Why is it a valid argument? Because logically, this will be flowing from the first premise to the second premise, and then you draw a conclusion. That's why people are told to be careful when they try to make their premises. Even when you go to the court, if you say the first premise and then you follow the second premise, then you are likely maybe to provide the conclusion, even if you are not the one providing the conclusion, but the rest of the people who have been listening what you have been saying concerning the first premise and the second premise, they are going to draw a conclusion which can probably, the conclusion can take you into prison. You can be imprisoned for 10 years because of your first premise and the second premise, which will draw a conclusion which will be a very strict conclusion which can cause you to be imprisoned. So you should be very careful when you make premises. You can see this one. All men are animals, yes. All creatures are men. There is no way you can avoid that. And then all creatures are animals. This is the conclusion which you cannot avoid. Although the statements were false, but the argument is still valid. And therefore from that, we have what we call sound argument. Sound arguments, the reasoning in the argument is valid and all the statements are true. So the previous arguments where we have that conclusion which is false, but the argument is valid, but that we can say is not sound. But if we say, for example, all computers are technological products, all abacuses are computers, therefore all abacuses are technological products. Now this is the sound argument. The reasoning in the argument is valid and the statements are true. Now this is what you can advise people to follow. So whatever you say, sometimes we provide statements which we cannot even defend. Sometimes we provide statements which sometimes we can even ask ourselves whether we are the ones who have provided that statement. Sometimes we escape our own statements. Sometimes we refute that we are not the ones who have provided those statements because they are misleading us. So we should be careful. Sound arguments is where it can make good reasoning and it can make arguments to be valid and the statements can be true and therefore even the conclusion can be true. We have kinds of arguments. Deductive argument in logic. An argument that has premises which gives conclusive grounds for the truth of the conclusion. Or if the premises claim to support the conclusion with necessity. The process is exact. For example, if we say all priests are humans, and then all popes are priests, then we can conclude that all popes are humans. So we can see the way we start with the first premise, all priests are humans. That's true. All priests are human beings. And all popes are priests. In order to be a pope, you should first be a priest. But because the first statement was saying that all priests are humans and all popes are priests, therefore all popes are humans. You see that once you make the first premise and then you follow the second premise, now these two premises will lead you into a certain conclusion which you cannot avoid. So you should be very careful. If you draw the first premise which is false and the second premise is false, then you are likely to draw the conclusion which is false. And that's where we always say that people should always avoid the premises which are false, the premises which they are not sure whether what they are saying is correct or not, the premises which even they cannot defend those premises. So you can see a very good way to make the premises. This is the way you can use when you even make conversations, even when you write your research paper, when you defend your paper, when you make arguments maybe in a court, when you are called for an interview. How do you make arguments? How do you respond to questions? How do you, if you start with a certain issue, how do you make the second issue? So that's where we find that logic is very important in our daily life. Then we have inductive argument. Inductive argument makes the warrior claim that it is premises support but not guarantee the necessity of its conclusion. Inductive argument, we are going to see. The conclusion is only given a high probability of correctness and not exactly valid or invalid. If we say, of all the 50 students I saw, nobody is black, therefore no student is black. You see, of all the 50 students I saw, nobody is black. So if someone asks you, is there any black student among those 50 students? Obviously the answer is not, because the statement has already said of all. It means all the students, all 50 students I saw, nobody is black. It means there is no any black person in that particular class. So deductive and inductive will further be clarified in knowledge area 5, where we will see more examples related to that. And then we go to fallacy. Logic should always avoid fallacy. Fallacy, this is the bad method of argument, whether deductive or inductive. This will be expressed more when we will be dealing with the knowledge area 4. For this particular time, for this particular knowledge area, we can end there that fallacy is the bad method of argument. This means you do not provide argument which is good. You mislead the argument. You take something which is not proper. You do not comply with the argument which is good and with good sound. One or more of its premises are false, or the reasoning of them may be invalid, or the language expressing them may be ambiguous or vague. That's what we call fallacy. Typical false in argument that sounds persuasive. And we have this example which we can see. All stars are hot. I am a star. Therefore I am hot. So there is an ambiguity here in the meaning of the word star. What does a star really mean? Because if we start with the first premise, all stars are hot. But if I say I am a star, this brings another meaning. It means I am good on doing something. And the first one, all stars are hot, it is not necessarily discussing about a human being. But because of that first premise and the second premise, then the conclusion will be I am hot. And therefore, all these will be vague. And they are just causing ambiguity in the meaning of the word star. And therefore, what you have tried to say is something which is not really sound good. And therefore, the principles of logic here have not been followed because of fallacy.
Next.
So now let us see the possible words. Logic always considers not only the word that exists, but also other potential words, the way things could be. Different statements may be true in different possible words. In one word, the statement, it is raining, may be true, but in another word, this statement may be false. When we say about word, we are trying to see different ways and different contexts where things can be expressed, the way things can be clarified, the way things can be understood. When you go to a certain place, you can find that they are talking a certain word in a certain context, differently from other contexts. The purpose of logic is to distinguish correct forms of argument from incorrect forms of arguments. This is done using only the form of the argument, independently of the subject matter. So there is no other way around where you can have this. So once, for example, sometimes you can ask, is, for example, the word truth universal? Is, for example, maybe a certain thing universal? This means when you are in Tanzania, it is the same in maybe in the USA, it is the same in Germany, it is the same in every context. So the purpose of logic is to distinguish correct forms of the argument from incorrect forms of arguments. If we talk of evils, is it universal in every place? Because sometimes maybe a certain evil can be an evil in a certain context, and another context is not an evil. But here, logic is trying to distinguish all those, and they can really show the correct forms from incorrect arguments. We have categorical syllogism. For example, if we say all Q, all P are Q, and all Q are R, thus all P are R. And the interpretation of this syllogism can be. And there where we can find that logic is very important. You can see this and they try to evaluate whether these are really logically true or not. If we say all Chaga are thieves, obviously we make a statement which we can try to ask ourselves whether this is true or not. And if we find that this is not true, then we can realize that we have committed fallacy. This is fallacy of hasty generalization, as we have seen in other knowledge areas. But since we have provided this statement, all Chaga are thieves, and then the second premise states all people living in Dar es Salaam are Chaga, what do we expect? What will be the conclusion? Therefore, the conclusion is this one. Therefore, all people living in Dar es Salaam are thieves. Why? Because of the fallacy we've committed at the beginning. Once you commit a fallacy at the beginning, you are likely to continue with the same fallacy. And that's why we normally advise people to avoid this. Try to check what you are trying to say at the beginning. Because what you say at the beginning, this is the one which will develop the second idea. And then the second idea is the one which will develop maybe the third idea, the fourth idea, the fifth idea, and ultimately these ideas will draw the conclusion. And the conclusion will depend on those ideas. So if the ideas were provided are not correct, if the ideas were provided are wrong, if the ideas you were provided are misleading, obviously you are going to provide a misleading conclusion, like the one which we see. If we say all Chaga are thieves. This is not true, and that's not proper. But this is the statement which is made. This is the major premise. And then we go to the minor premise. All people living in Dar es Salaam are Chaga. You see? Because all Chaga are thieves, and all people living in Dar es Salaam are Chaga. Therefore, the conclusion is misleading, telling people that all people living in Dar es Salaam are thieves. But this is why we normally have logic analysis. We want to analyze our statements before we make them. Another interpretation: all chairs are made of wood. Yes. And then all wood are not stable. You see, the conclusion is, therefore all chairs are not stable. Now, how do you evaluate this? It means the first premise, which is the major premise, all chairs are made of wood. This is correct. All chairs are made of wood, probably. But the second one, all wood are not stable. All wood are not stable. And then, therefore, all chairs are not stable. Because if all chairs are made of wood, something which might not be true, all wood are not stable, and therefore, there is no way you can say all chairs are stable. Or there is no way you can say some chairs are stable and the others are not stable. No. The sentence of conclusion will be, therefore, all chairs are not stable. Why? It is because the first statement, this means the major premise, and the second statement, which is the minor premise, have misled you to have a wrong conclusion. And then the syllogism is true if one of the hypotheses is false or the conclusion is true. Both interpretations make the syllogism true. This syllogism is valid. Thus, it is true in your interpretations. If you make syllogism valid, then the following interpretations will be true. Another syllogism: all P are Q, all P are R, thus all Q are R. Now we can have an interpretation like this one. All students are people, yes. All students are mortal. Therefore, people are mortal. Now we see the way we make statements. Because all students, this is like P, and all students, this is like Q. And therefore, this one, because P and the R are drawn from P and the Q, therefore, there is no way you can say Q is not the same as R. And therefore, we can sometimes create some wrong information or correct information or true information according to what we have started with. This interpretation makes the syllogism true. And this syllogism is not valid. Syllogisms can be conditionally or unconditionally valid, depending on the way you have tried to state. Logic, therefore, is not a matter of opinion. When it comes to evaluating arguments, there are specific principles and criteria that you should use. If you use those principles and criteria, then you are using logic. If you are not, then you are not justified in claiming to use logic or to be logical. And that's why sometimes we say what you have said is not logical. Sometimes we can even advise people, say, please try to say it logically. Try to use logical way of articulating things in order to help people understand your concern. This is important because sometimes people don't realize that what sounds reasonable is not necessarily logical. Because if you say a certain thing is reasonable, it's not necessarily that it is logical. To be reasonable, if you say maybe all Chaga is, it is reasonable but not logical. This reasoning process using principles of logic in your reasoning. Thinking and the arguments is critical to the practice of philosophy. Now we go to the concluding point. We can conclude that the logicians is interested primarily in obtaining order in our thinking process. To that end, logic teaches how to go about making good definitions and divisions, how to make proper implications, and how to conduct correct reasoning so that the mind might attain truth. It is very important for any person to consider logic in any argument he may. Try to consider logic, and this will help you to have good ideas, to have good concerns, to have good contributions, even when you will be doing your research paper, even when you will be doing your term paper, even when you will be answering the questions. Try to consider logic, and then when you use logic, then you will be dealing well with critical thinking and argumentation. Thanks you for your listening, and obviously we have some questions for clarifications.